The paper I chose looks at inhibitory control by studying both great apes and children. So why great apes? Past studies have shown that retrieval tasks are linked to matured dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, but this is yet to be studied in great apes. Great apes also have the largest prefrontal cortex seen in all non-human primates, so this data is necessary to understanding human evolution, executive problem solving, and forward planning skills. Similarly, children's prefrontal lobe undergoes an important growth spurt around the age of 4, making them good candidates for this type of research. Researchers did 4 separate studies. In study number 1, they looked to compare the ability of gorillas, orangutans, bonobos, and chimps to complete a classic detour reaching problem. Researchers first set up a wooden box on a platform attached to a mesh wall. From inside, the mesh had 2 large holes so the subject could stick their hand in and out of the box. To get the food, the subject had to reach through the empty door and grab the reward behind the other door, which they could not see. This experiment involved 2 conditions, a visible one where the food was uncovered and an invisible one where the food was covered. Researchers found no significant differences between the visible and invisible conditions. However, they found large differences between great ape species. Orangutans outperformed everyone else and learned from their mistakes, improving throughout their trials. This reflects that orangutans have a more developed inhibitory skill set and a greater maturation of the prefrontal cortex. The second experiment followed a very similar look, but instead investigated training regimes. Researchers took all of the failures from the first trial and divided them into 2 training methods, a fixed, where subjects were taught to always reach through the same door to get the reward, and a variable, where subjects were trained to reach into both doors alternatively. Researchers found that subjects improved their performance in both the fixed and variable conditions, with no significant differences between the 2. This suggests that inhibitory skills can be taught through multiple trials and trainings. Experiment 3 sought to confirm the species differences found earlier and used a sample of sanctuary great apes, who were formerly wild. The researchers used the same setup as experiment 1 and said they only used visible trials. They found that sanctuary apes perform much better than zoo apes in this experiment. They also found that species did not significantly differ in their ability to obtain the food, which is much different than we saw in experiment 1. Experiment 4 now looks at children. The apparatus used was identical to the one used in the first experiment, however, it was made more appealing to the children. Researchers also used toys as rewards that could be switched out for stickers, something that was very high value. Researchers found that older children performed slightly better, which is understandable due to the prefrontal cortex development seen at age 4, as mentioned before. Children 4 and older tended to perform at the same level as sanctuary apes. They also found that 3-year-old children needed significantly more time to make a choice for which door to choose, with 75% of them missing trials because they were unable to solve the task after 5 minutes. These results fit perfectly with past research done on inhibitory controls in children. Overall, these 4 experiments demonstrated that orangutans perform the best in this task out of all the apes. This means that they have a more matured prefrontal cortex and are more likely to be less impulsive and less focused. These tests also show that small amounts of remedial training are essential in determining success in these retrieval experiments. In regards to failures in young children and zoo apes, it is likely that they become so focused on the presence of the food or the toy that they lose focus on the bigger picture at hand, causing them to not complete the task. This makes sense as to why older children are likely to complete this experiment, as their prefrontal cortex is more developed, just like the orangutans. However, between children and apes, children are much less likely to make the same mistakes after they figure out the solution, while apes generally need extensive training, as demonstrated in experiment 2. In summary, this study found great apes are capable of solving a detour task, and they can be trained to solve it even if they fail the first time. Thank you.